ಸಂಸಾರದಾವನಲಲಿದಲೋಕ ತ್ರಣಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಘನ ಘನಾತ್ವಂ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಸ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ಗುಣಾನವಸ್ಯ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀ ಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಂ ಮಹಾಪ್ರಭೋ ಕೀರ್ತನ ನಿತ್ಯ ಗೀತ ವಾದಿತ್ರಮಾದ್ಯಾನ್ ಮನಸೋರಸೇನ ರೋಮಾಂಚಕಂಪಾಸುತರಂಗಭಾಜೋ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀವಿಗ್ರಹಾರಾಧನ ನಿತ್ಯನಾನ ಶೃಂಗಾರತನ್ಮಂದಿರಮಜನಾದೌ ಯುಕ್ತಸ್ಯ ಭಕ್ತಾಂ ಸಂಯಂಜತೋಪಿ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಂ ಚತುರ್ವಿಧಾಸ್ತಿ ಭಗವತ್ಪ್ರಸಾದ ಸ್ವಾದನ್ನ ತೃಪ್ತಾನ್ ಹರಿಭಕ್ತ ಸಂಗಾನ್ ಕೃತ್ವೈವ ತೃಪ್ತಿಂ ಭಜತಃ ಸದೈವ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಂ ಶ್ರೀರಾಧಿಕಾ ಮಾಧವಯೋರಪಾರ ಮಾಧುರ್ಯಲೀಲಾ ಗುಣರೂಪ ನಾಮ್ನಾಂ ಪ್ರತಿಕ್ಷಣಾಸ್ವಾದನಲೋಲುಪಸ್ಯ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಂ ನಿಕುಂಜಯೂನೋ ಪ್ರತಿಕೇಲಿಸಿದ್ದೈ ಯಾಯಾಲಿಭಿರ್ಯುಕ್ತಿರಪೇಕ್ಷಣೀಯ ತತ್ರಾತಿದಾಕ್ಷ್ಯಾದ್ ಅತಿವಲ್ಲಭಸ್ಯ ವಂದೇ ಗುರೋ ಶ್ರೀಚರಣಾರವಿಂದಂ ಸಾಕ್ಷಾಧರಿತ್ವೇನ ಸಮಸ್ತಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೈ ಉಕ್ತಸ್ತದಾ ಭಾವ್ಯತ ಏವ ಸದ್ಭಿಃ किन्तु प्रभोय प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायां स्तुवं तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् ध्यायां स्तुवं तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने वेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चदुकुलचौरं व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चदुकुलचौरम् अनेकजन्माजितपापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि श्रीराधिकाय हृदयस्य चौरं नवम्बुध श्यामलाकान्तिचौरम् पदाश्रितानां च समस्तचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पदाश्रितं या करोति भिक्षुं पतिगेहहीनम् केनाप्यहो भीषणचौरये दृष्टश्रुतो वा न जगत्त्रयेऽपि यदीयनामापि हरत्यशेषं गिरिप्रसारानपि पापराशिन् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चौरये दृष्टश्रुतो वा न मया कदापि धनं च मानं च ततेन्द्रियाणि प्राणं च हृत्वा मम सर्वमेव पलायसे कुत्र धृतोऽद्य त्वं भक्तिदाम्नासि मया निरुद्धा छिन्नसि घोरं यमपाशबन्धं भिन्नसि भीमं भवपाशबन्धम् छिन्नसि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धं नैवात्मनो भक्तकृतं तु बन्धम् मन्मानसे तामसरासि घोरे कारागृहे दुःखमये निबद्धा लभस्व हे चौरहरे चिराय स्वचौर्यदोषोचितमेव दण्डम् व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकूलचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि कारागृहे वस सदा हृदये मदीये मद्भक्तिपाश दृढबन्धन निच्छलासन् त्वां कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटिशतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्वचौरहृदयान् न हि मोचयामि जय राधा नीलमाधव राधा नीलमाधव श्री राधे जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन चक्र निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
Pada Pramhamsa Pratikacharya Stota Shata Shishimad Divine Grace Abarchana Rinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Bhaktivedanta Institute Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Pramhamsa Pratikacharya Stota Shata Shishimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavana Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridasa Ki Jai Premise Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giliguradan Ki Jai Shri Prajabhumi Vrindavandam Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapradam Ki Jai Purushottama Chaitra Jagannath Puri Dam Ki Jai Shri Ayodhya Dam Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samavrita Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai Purushottama Adhikamasa Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Pralada Lada Daine.
Pralada Lada Daine.
Hiranya Kashipurakshaha. Shilatanka Nakalaye. Ito Narsima Parato Narsima. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsima. Bahe नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरे नाकाम् अबुतशृङ्गां तलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा च जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो यही अभिलाषी राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो यही अभिलाषी જીતો માર શરણ લોય તારા વાંચ પૂર્ણ હોય કૃપા કોરી કોરો તારે વૃંદાવન વાસી નમો નમઃ તુલસી કૃષ્ણ પ્રેયસી નમો નમઃ મોરાએ અભિલાષ વિલાસ કુંજ દિયો વાસ નયને હેરીબો સદા યુગલ રૂપ રાશી નમો નમઃ તુલસી કૃષ્ણ પ્રેયસી નમો નમઃ એ નિવેદાનાધાર સકીરનું ગાતા કોરો એ નિવેદાનાધારો સકીરનું ગાતા કોરો સેવાધિકાર દિયે કોરો નિજ દાસી અધિકાર દિયે કોરો નિજ દાસી દિન કૃષ્ણ દાસે કોઈ યહી ન મોરા હોય શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદ પ્રેમે સદાય ન ભાષી નમો નમઃ તુલસી કૃષ્ણ પ્રેયસી નમો નમઃ જ્ઞાની કાની ચ પાપાની બ્રહ્મ હત્યાદિકાની ચ તાની તાની પ્રનશ્યંતિ પ્રદક્ષિણ પદે પદે यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे तानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयासी नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो 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 हरे हरे तुलसी महारानी की वृंदा देवी की वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवशिचाय विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवशिचाय विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदा देवी की तुलसी महारानी की
Mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavana. My desire also grant me residence in the precious ghost of Shiva and Davana Dham. Thus within my vision I shall always behold the beautiful path of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me follow a Karo Dancer's virgin. Please give me the privileged devotional service and make me own maidservant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blast in the devotee to have a dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To give some also Shiva, Brahma, to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To blast in the Veda literature, impersonal verse. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities, offering the Vedas as fruit activities, karma, kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about God's holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after studying so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses. In order to quickly achieve desired success, Krishna, Prema. Now let us, for most humble obeisances on all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, their desires who can fulfill to everyone, their full compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam ki jai. Jeto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Shriya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavatu jivanam Anandam pudivardhanam pratipadam purnamita sadhanam Sarvatmasnapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam Nam namakari bahuta nija sarva shaktis Tatra pita niyamita smaranena kalaha Etadishi tavakripa bhagavam mamapi Durudeva midisham yaha janina nurakaha Trinatapi sunichena tarorapi saishnuna Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi Na dhanam na chanam na sundarim kavitam vajagadisha kamaye Mama jammani jammanishware pavatha bhaktir haituki tvai Ayinanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mang vishame bhavam podo Kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita duli satesham vichintaya Nayanam kaladashuru daraya vatanam kadgada rudaya gira Pulaka nichitam mapo kada tava nama grahane bhavishati Yuga itam nimishena chakshusha pravisha itam Shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name Ashlishyava pataratam pinastumam Adarsanam marmhatam karotuva Yatha tatava vidhatu lampato Mat prananatastusava eva naparaha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Shiksastakam ki jai. Glory to Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I am so unfortunate to have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in the humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a stone tree, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others,
In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotion service birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years from now. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles the rough advice and embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutani Shri Guru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai. Om Aganyati Mirandasya Yananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadama Yam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatahapaji Kamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raguratan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Visakha Vitam Shah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavahadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamini Shivasuvanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Primadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasidanta Dvantaharine Namo Guru Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Guru Guravir Baba Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vanshakalpa Durabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Yevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurachase Namaha Vanshakal Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Meritam Shuratur Pangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Dvindaranya Kapujumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestali Vihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswaner Gopir Gopinatakstri Heshtuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanus Tutu Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Guru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadidhadi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Satmasukalpa Viksha Laksha Vriteshu Suravira Vibhavayantam Lakshmi Sahasrasat Sambrahma Sevyaman Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kanandam Aravinda Dalayataksham Parhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesa Sobam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Bhagavamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranaya Keli Kala Vilasam Shamam Shivanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anyani Yasya Sakalendriya Vittimanti Pasyanti Pantika Yanti Chiranjaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Ashutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Mantastu Koti Satavatsala Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manasomuni Pungaman Sopyasti Yatpapada Simya Vichintya Tattve Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Koti Yaschakti Rasti Jagadanda Chaya Yadanta Adantarasta Paramanu Chayantarasta Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Yomana Jasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahimhasana Yanabhusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitavis Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Tahakalabi Gologa Eva Nivasata Kilat Pabuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalali Yamena Tista Nana Avataram Akarud Bhuvane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Puman Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. She promised me to Kiche. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Go ahead.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids.
Ladies? Haribo. Okay. Go ahead.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with flute and jewel ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Samasundara is eternally manifest.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universe, both spiritual and mundane.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis, who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years.
Good.
He is undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore.
Haribol.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed by the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidentes, Sakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamsundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with the self of love.
Thank you.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions.
Very good. Thank you. Glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
And we can recite together. Janmadhyasya yato niviyati taratas chartesu avidya swarat tene brahma hridaya adhikabhaye bhuyanti yat surayaha tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo yachadri sargo misha damna swena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Somebody can read?
O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. We can recite together. Dharma proshito kaitra votra paramo nimatsanam satam Vedyam vastavam atravastu shivam tapotrayam mulam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kri Mahavarishvaraha Sadyo Hidya Varudyate Tra Kriti Bihisa Susubhistakshanat. Somebody can read?
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries, This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasdev in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3. We can recite together. Nikama kalpataror gaditam phalam sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam pibata bhagavatam rasam layam muhur aho raska bhuvi bhavakaha. Somebody?
O expert and thoughtful men, release. O expert and thoughtful men, release Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already releasable for all, including liberated souls.
Hari Bol. Glory to Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. And now we're going to read the Shishi Churastakam, English translation. I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja or Vrindavana as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes. Hari Bol.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet.
Very good.
He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering, homeless beggar. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been so or seen or heard of in all the three worlds.
Hari Bol.
Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere.
Wow. Wonderful.
O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion.
Hari Bol.
You cut the terrible noose of Yamraj, you sever the dreadful noose of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage, but you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees.
Hari Bol.
O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance, and there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery.
Hari Bol.
O Krishna, thief of my everything, the noose of my devotion remaining forever tied, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart, because I will not release you for millions of eons.
Very good. Shri Churastakam Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Today we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 14, verse number 5. Maitreya Uvacha Sadhuvira Traya Pristam Avatara Katam Hari Yatvam Prichasi Martyanam Mrityu Pasa Visat Anim Maitreya Uvacha. Maitreya said, Sadhu, devotee, Vira, O warrior, Traya, by you, Pristam, inquired, Avatara Katam, topics on the incarnation of the Lord, Hare, of the personality of Godhead, Yat, that which, Tvam, your good self, Prichasi, asking me, Martyanam, of those who are destined for death, Mrityupasa, the chain of birth and death, Visatanim, source of liberation. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The great sage Maitreya said, O warrior, he's talking to Vidura, the inquiry made by you is just befitting a devotee, because it concerns the incarnation of the personality of Godhead. He is the source of liberation from the chain of birth and death for all those who are otherwise destined to die. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Who would like to read? Go ahead.
The great sage Maitreya addressed Vidura as a warrior not only because Vidura belonged to the Kuru family, but because he was anxious to hear about the chivalrous activities of the Lord in his incarnations of Varaha and Narasimha. Because the inquiries concerned the Lord, they were perfectly befitting a devotee. A devotee has no taste for hearing anything mundane. There are many topics of mundane warfare, but a devotee is not inclined to hear them. The topics of the warfare in which the Lord engages do not concern the war of death, but the war against the chain of Maya, which obliges one to accept repeated birth and death. In other words, one who takes delight in hearing the war topics of the Lord is relieved from the chains of birth and death. Foolish people are suspicious of Krishna's taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra, not knowing that his taking part ensured liberation for all those who were present on the battlefield. It is said by Bhishma Dev that all who were present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual existences after death. Therefore, hearing the war topics of the Lord is as good as any other devotional service.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. It's a beautiful purport, revealing a lot of very, let's say, highly qualified knowledge. Krishna's liberating his devotees and Krishna's killing demons are equal, because both go back to Godhead. The demons who get purified by coming in contact with Krishna, and the devotees. Now, most people would not be able to understand this, but devotees can, because they are hearing Bhagavatam spoken by genuine devotees. Therefore, there's a major difference between mundane war history and the history of the Lord's pastimes, where he delivers his devotees, kills the demons, and reestablishes the principles of religion. So when he kills the demons, they also get liberated because they come in contact with the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is all good, no matter what he does, whether he's liberating his devotees or protecting them, killing the demons, and reestablishing the principles of religion. Because whenever there's a deterioration of the practice of Sanatana Dharma or religious activities, the Lord is responsible because he's the maintainer of Dharma. So he has to come in one way or the other. Either he sends someone else, like Srila Prabhupada, or he assumes the form of Nrsingadev, or Varaha, or Matsya, or he comes himself in his original form, as he did 5,000 years ago, and to reestablish the principles of religion, destroy the demons, and protect his devotees. Okay, so let's take a little closer look at some of the things that are said in this purport, because it's very good. As we discussed previously, in previous verses 3 and 4, Vidura was very anxious to hear about the chivalrous activities of the Lord in his incarnations of Varaha and Nrsimha. Because the inquiries, or inquiries means questions, concerned the Lord, they were perfectly befitting a devotee. A devotee has no taste for hearing anything mundane. There are many topics of mundane warfare, but a devotee is not inclined to hear them. The topics of the warfare in which the Lord engages do not concern the war of death, but the war against the chain of Maya, which obliges one to accept repeated birth and death. That's a really important point that we should take away from this purport. When you hear, the history of World War II or World War I, or the Muslim invasion of India, or this thing or that thing, these are all mundane topics. But when you hear topics of the warfare in which the Lord engages, it doesn't concern the war of death, but the war against the chain, in other words, the shackles of Maya, which obliges one to accept repeated birth and death. That's our real problem. We are all enamored in one way or other by Maya. And because of that, we're avoiding any serious attempt to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death. But when we begin to take a real interest in hearing about Krishna's pastimes and how he saves his devotees, reestablishes the principles of religion that have become deteriorated over time, and kills the demons, it's actually wonderful. It's not ghastly or horrible. It's transcendental, because everybody is enriched, everyone is, let's say, spiritually enlightened, everyone goes back to Godhead. This is who God actually is. He's not a vengeful God. He is a very transcendental. He's a transcendental God. He's not affected by good and bad. He sees everything transcendentally. And anyone that comes in contact with him, just like the sun, when someone passes stool or urine in a paddy field, well, not in a paddy field, but in a field. I remember first time I went to India, I was trying to get to the Ganges from, and walk to the Ganges to take, to swim. And I started walking across this one field, and I noticed that there was stool everywhere, and it looked like human stool. I was wondering, what is this? Well, at that time, that was a field that all the villagers used only for passing stool and urine. Now, why would they do that? Because the sun is so hot in India, especially in certain periods of time, that it completely purifies the stool and urine, turns it into dust. Then I started to understand this is a different, let's say, way of life. They don't have all these complicated sewers and things like that. They depend on nature's natural forces, like the purification of the sun. well, I never went that way again to go to the Ganges. Let's put it like that. But I was impressed that they solve a big problem without a huge amount of money and investment and so forth. Just depending on the absolute power of the sun to purify whatever it comes in contact with. Well, in the same way, whoever comes in contact with Krishna will be purified. Therefore, we should not be interested in mundane, let's say, stories, mundane histories, because there's no purification possible hearing those things. But listening to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, we see that there's only wonderful benefit and no downside. If the Lord kills the demon goes back to Godhead. If somebody comes in contact with Krishna, they can become purified and go back to Godhead. So this is all good. There's nothing bad. This is all transcendental. There's nothing mundane of Krishna Katha, Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Prasadam, and Sankirtan and things like that. You're always coming in contact with the Lord, which means that the Lord is going to protect you. He's going to give you knowledge more and more so that you become convinced to always be engaged in Krishna consciousness. And He's going to direct you to always make the right decisions in life. We have to have faith in this. We have to actually believe this. These are not fairy tales. The stories like, Alice in Wonderland, that's a fairy tale, right? Or the stories about let's say, many people, they learn their philosophy from comic books in India, right? That's not the way to learn the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It's by listening to, just like Vidura is doing, he's listening to Maitreya Muni, who's explaining all these transcendental topics to him. And because of that, his enthusiasm to hear more and more is increasing. It doesn't decrease. He doesn't say, oh, I got a little headache now. I'm hearing only about Krishna, let's talk about something else, let's talk about Trump or somebody, No. The more you hear about Krishna, the more you develop this taste, and it becomes a let's say, prerogative to continue to hear more and more, because it's uplifting. It purifies your mind. It purifies your heart. It gives you transcendental experiences and knowledge, and above all, Krishna himself, who's in your heart, and you become more and more aware of his presence. Shinvata swakata Krishna punya sravana kirtana hridyantaksto bhadrani vidunati srihit satam. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter. And it says, Lord Krishna is in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma. And when he sees and hears you reciting choice prayers, glorifying him just like we do every day, Brahma Samhita, and so forth, and that you're taking an interest in him, he takes a specific interest in you personally. And he then protects you, gives you knowledge, and gives you the ability to make the right decisions in life, and will always direct you in the right path so that you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. All we have to do is develop this attachment to hearing from him, to glorifying him with choice prayers like the Brahma Samhita, Why do you think we're doing that every day? Because the more Krishna sees you're interested in him, he becomes interested in you. This is real knowledge. This is transcendental knowledge. This is real liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Okay, so he says, foolish people are suspicious of Krishna's taking part in the battle of Kurukshetra, not knowing that his taking part ensured liberation for all who were present on the battlefield. It is said by Bhismadeva that all who were present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual existences after death. Therefore, hearing the war topics of the Lord is as good as any other devotional service, like chanting Hare Krishna, like hearing about Krishna's dancing with the gopis. People make these differences. For Krishna, there's no differences, whether he's killing someone or inspiring or educating someone. It's all good. People can't understand that. Just like the sun can give you a suntan, the sun can dry up stool and urine. It's all good. There's nothing bad. Why? Because the sun has absolute powers. And that's only a material thing. Well, the sunlight is not material, but the ability to do those things, it's like a miracle. And the same, but just imagine the Lord is much more powerful than just the sun. All the good things that he can do, than he is doing, if we choose to associate with him. That's why we come to the temple. That's why we should come to class. We're constantly associating with Krishna. The more you do that, the more fortunate you become, the more transcendentally aware you become of the truth of the absolute presence of God in your heart. And he's directing you because you're interested in him. Now he's taking an interest in you. If you're just interested in, let's say, Bollywood dancing and hearing mundane stories and talking about clothes or jewelry or making money like this or like that, you're basically the enemy of yourself. We don't want to be enemies of ourselves. We want to be nurturing always transcendental knowledge, transcendental association with Krishna. So we have to make this decision, which way we're going to go. Do you want to go to hell, taking birth over and over again in the material world? Or you want to go back to Godhead and solve all the problems of material life that way? Okay, so are there any questions you would like to ask about this verse? Any questions? Yes.
So Maharaj, like in Mahabharata, like in the later purpose, so
Wait a minute, I didn't understand you.
okay. So in the text of Mahabharata, so
In the text of the Mahabharata.
Mahabharata.
Okay.
So in the later portion, so like it's talked about the Pandavas and the Kauravas going to Swarg.
They're going to what?
Swarg, Swarg, like not the Vaikuntha or the higher lokas. So like is that like how do we understand that so like here it says that like Krishna being present on the battlefield, it made sure that everyone attend their original association of Krishna, but Swarg is still there in the cycle of this.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying you have read in the Mahabharata
Yes.
that the Kauravas, they went to the heavenly planets.
Like, so basically it says that
But
the Pandavas.
Yudhishthira, he had to go to hell. He saw his brothers there.
No, no. So basically, like the question is that the Pandavas, like even the Pandavas went to Swarg, they didn't go to Vaikunt.
Okay. This is why we should read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mahabharata are things that really happened in the past. There's some things that are allegorical and other things that are factual in the Mahabharata. But the Mahabharata is not what you would call completely pure. The Srimad Bhagavatam is completely pure. It is Mahapurana, the greatest of the Puranas. Puranas are ancient histories. Mahabharata is a lot of things that happen, there's stories, there's allegorical things there are some misleading things in it. It's for helping less intelligent people to begin to understand some things about Krishna consciousness. Srimad Bhagavatam is Mahapurana. There's no mixed things in it. It's pure love and devotion for Krishna. So, why are we reading today Srimad Bhagavatam and not Mahabharata? Because Mahabharata is for less intelligent people. And therefore, there's a lot of mixed things in it. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam is only pure love and devotion for Krishna. So that's why you should not be confused by something that you read in the Mahabharata that seems to be different than something that you're reading in Srimad Bhagavatam. You just depend on Srimad Bhagavatam because it's Mahapurana. It's the perfect Purana, which are histories. And this is why after Vyasadeva had written so many literatures, compiled the Vedas and Puranas and Vedanta Sutra, Mahabharata, he was not very satisfied. And he wasn't exactly sure why. He had a hunch, but he wasn't exactly sure. So when his guru came to see him, he said, look, you spent so much time explaining Varnashram Dharma. You spent so much time explaining this story, that story, that you didn't really emphasize who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So go back now and rewrite the information that completely focuses on Krishna with nothing mundane. Because there are a lot of mundane things in the Mahabharata. And that's what he did. And that relieved his anxiety. Because now he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, which is pure knowledge of who Krishna is and how to go back to Godhead. And there's no more this mixture or that mixture. All right? So that's why we're not reading Mahabharata here. We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam. It's for people who are really serious about going back to Godhead. Mahabharata has a lot of entertaining things in it to catch the interest of low-class people. Now, we're not making fun of the fact that they're low class. It's just that they're not on the level of someone like Vidura, who's so anxious to hear more and more about Krishna's pastimes. So it's to catch them. It's just like you throw a big net into a river, and then you start pulling it back and you catch a lot of fish. So the Mahabharata is like that. It's to catch people's attention, to take some interest in spiritual life. Srimad Bhagavatam is for those people who are completely enamored of Krishna and who are serious about going back to Godhead and who only are interested in Krishna and his transcendental pastimes. They don't want any adulteration. They don't want any mixture. They want the pure thing. It's just like yourself. You can buy sweets in Delhi cooked in dalda, or you can buy sweets in Delhi cooked in pure ghee. It depends. I mean, some people, they say, no, I don't want ghee. Ghee give you a heart attack. I want dalda. But actually, dalda gives you a heart attack, and ghee increases your ojas, your living force. So, different slokas for different folks, as we say in America. Different slokas for different folks. So some people like the Mahabharata slokas because there's everything there. There's illicit sex, there's war, there's love, there's this, there's that. It's all there. But devotees, they don't want any mixture of nonsense with purity. They want all purity. That's Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why we're reading Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. If you want the real truth that's not adulterated in any way or diminished in any way, then you have to go to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? Any other? That was a good question. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, what time is it now? 7 o'clock. If there are no more questions, we'll stop now. Now, yesterday was a really great day. Not because we were able to collect over $500,000, because we were able to talk about really serious things. Not that we're talking about non-serious things every day, but it was challenging. People were asking good questions, and it was very purifying, and it was very revealing of where the consciousness of this congregation is. The consciousness is very Krishna conscious of this congregation. It's not because you give a lot of money. It's because people are interested in coming and hearing what is Atma Tattva, the truth about the soul. And whether you can accept it or not, well, that's a decision you have to make. But if you keep coming and keep listening, eventually you will say, listen, this is all I want. I don't want anything else. That's Vidura's position. He just can't stop hearing about Krishna. He doesn't get bored. He gets enthused the more he hears about Krishna. That should be our goal also. And then you're ready to go back to Godhead. Hari Bol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, did you know there was such a difference between Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam? Now you know. That's why we come to class.
Many people in India, they are interested in Mahabharata.
Yeah, of course.
Majority.
Because there's sex, there's war, there's intrigue, all those things. It's like a mundane movie almost. It's not all mundane. There are transcendental things there also, but it's mixed. Whereas Bhagavatam, there's no mixture. Pure Krishna consciousness. Hari Bol.